And yes, we're live again here today on the 5-Minute Bark. And today we've got a great guest that was referred from a good friend of ours who was on the episode prior to this, or second one prior to this, I believe. I don't know, so many episodes going on here. We've got Greg Walker, but today we've got Steve Gamlin here today from Goffstown, New Hampshire. And company name, I love this, Motivational Firewood. And we have to learn more about this here today. Steve, say hello, everybody.
Hey there, everybody. Happy to be here, Dennis. Thank you so much for the invite. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. Yeah, so let's first dive into a little bit about Motivational Firewood. I gotta know the story.
Yeah, I mean, basically, there's so many people out there calling themselves motivational speakers. And unfortunately, I didn't want to get lumped in with the people who are basically, it comes down to rah, 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 buy my stuff. See me in the back of the room without a lot of substance. And my mission from day one, I'm now in my 12th year as a speaker, has been to provide the best quality content I can, creating something new every single day. And basically, I stack it up. I send it out every single day. Now, a speaker can't change your life. A DVD, a CD, anything can't change your life. But the way I see it is if one of my live presentations, one of my products, one of my books, programs, videos, radio shows, podcasts, something, if somebody takes what they learn and apply it to the spark of desire in their heart to create something, and then they go take action upon it, that's a huge win. So I just tell people, all I can do is provide firewood. If you don't provide the spark, we're not going to go anywhere together.
Right.
So I'm never responsible for anyone's success, but if you take something I said and take action on it, it's a huge win. And those are some of my favorite moments when I hear what people have done after either hearing me, seeing me, or reading something I wrote.
I love it. Awesome. We talked earlier before we even went live about we're both kind of excited about vision boards, and we kind of talked about The Secret and how that really amped a lot of people up, and it still amped me up. I still love the movie to myself, and I'm sure you do too. It was just so inspirational, and a lot of people took a lot of good things from that and ran from there. But we talked about vision boards and how you created this amazing vision board, and tell us first off what you went and aimed to improve about the vision board, because I really like that. I thought that was really a good way to start our episode here today.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of The Secret. And it came out right around the time that I was at my lowest point in life. And not only did they explain the law of attraction in a way that a larger percentage of the population could understand it, John Assaraf, who's one of the experts in The Secret, was talking about his vision board. And it just struck me how great of a little product it was, taking all your goals, hopes, and dreams, putting them into a visual form, whether it be pictures or words, and putting them all together in a place where you could see it. What I took from that was diving deeper, because they just kind of glossed over it, which was fine, right, but getting people to be very emotionally connected to everything they put on the board. So I've spent years creating my program, which makes you dive deep in here and here, and just get out everything of where you are now, where you want to be. And the most important question, and Simon Sinek wrote a wonderful book on this, is the question of why, with everything we want. And when we get emotionally connected, better things happen, because now we see opportunity and we know where we're going. We're not just driving around blindly hoping to stumble across success.
So let me ask you this, okay? Because I've also created like a digital version of a software, and I was using it, daily, but I'll admit I don't use it every day anymore. But what do you suggest people look at these things or get connected to them? How often? Every day, every week? Because, sometimes people get this burnout, like motivational burnout sometimes, because you're all fired up. You come back from a convention, you come back from, coaching or something like that, and you just kind of really get all amped up, but life takes its toll on you and you start procrastinating.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I've come home from those conferences. I'm still very immersed in learning. And right over there at the other side of my recording studio is my personal development library. And there are some books there and programs I've listened to or read 20 times. And there's notes and bookmarks everywhere. And some of the other ones that I got fired up about and bought, they all have one thing in common, a bookmark right around page 17, where I just went, this isn't for me. What I encourage with the vision board, because of the way that I create them, the feedback I get from my clients and my attendees is that because they got themselves inspired by it, they tend to burn out less, because it's not so much what Steve said. It's what they wanted for themselves. And I encourage people to put it in a place where they can see it every single day. Matter of fact, mine's right over there against, I was just doing a video shoot with it. Make it the wallpaper on your tablet, your smartphone. Print out a picture of it, fold it up, put it in the visor of your car so that every day you can look at it, but not in a way to get all fired up in a frenzy, but to just say, today I'm going to take one step toward just one of my goals. And even though it sounds tiny, over the course of time, you're going to create a momentum that you probably wouldn't have if you looked at this big, overwhelming vision every day. And I get overwhelmed. Believe me, I've created whole ways to get around it based on a roller coaster ride here in New Hampshire a couple summers ago. Yeah. But put it where you can see it. One of my dearest friends, she's a fellow speaker. Her name is Lisa Schermerhorn, and she's a therapist and a hypnotist and a speaker. She has hers right next to her bathroom mirror, and somebody laughed at an event. You keep your vision board in your bathroom? She goes, hey, I'm there every day.
That's right. That's true.
Yep.
Yeah. And well, you got your vision board right there. Do you want to share it, or is it very private?
Sure. Yeah. I'll just lean right out of the shot here for a second and grab it. Luckily, I've got these long arms. Here we go. Sorry about that. I stepped out of the shot for a second.
That's okay. That's what we want. So so you did the real deal here. This is great.
Oh yeah. You want me to hold it right up for a close up there?
Yeah, there you go. They see that. So
this is one from this one is from 2007. I've got about 8 different boards that I've created over the years. This is the one that I keep on hand because it has actually rocked my world the most as far as the actual goals I set. About 12, 13 years ago, I went through a divorce. In a real short window of time, I walked away from a successful radio career. I was just fried. I did 15 years worth of hours in 10 years. I was just burned out in every phase. Went through a divorce with $65,000 in debt. And at age 35, had to crawl back home, busted, to live with family. That was right when The Secret came out. The timing could not have been better.
Yes, right.
And I started working with a life coach I was his first client. And so we were working out some things, and luckily I was journaling and being brutally honest with my journaling. And he asked me if I had seen The Secret, and I said yes. And he asked me about vision boards because he said, when you speak, you're very, very visual, and you're a storyteller. So I started learning everything I could about vision boards, and I started building them. In the first few, I made every mistake you can possibly make. It was all material stuff, no motion at all. I would have been better off just writing, Dear Santa Claus, sending a letter to the North Pole. And as I got into them, I understood, and you've probably got right there in your program, a life wheel, which has, the major parts of life: physical, mental, financial, career, spiritual, ethical, all of these things. I started to realize that the board needed to have at least 2 pictures from every part of my life, because it's, some people talk about work-life balance between. I love what Tony Hsieh said. He's the CEO of Zappos. He said it's work-life integration. Mm-hmm. And when he said that, it just went boom in my head, that this is your entire life on one. This is a 14 by 17 piece of foam board. And when I realized that, right around January of 2007, I put together this board. And I thought, okay, career-wise, here's where I want to be. Acts of kindness and giving back is very big for me. So I wanted to make that part of it. And I also wanted to create the relationship of my dreams that year, or discover it. So I put pictures of people, couples walking on a beach and reeling of a ship and a sunset and all that. And that was the year I actually did discover her via an email from 1,300 miles away, from a woman I hadn't seen in 21 years. Wow. 8 days after I wrote in my journal, I am ready to fall in love. It's like the openness of your mind and the opportunity. And it sounds cosmic, and I do my best to take the cosmicity out of it all. It's just real. And you just become aware. When you know what you want, you become aware of the little things that pop up that could get you there. It's a beautiful process. It really is.
It's like you said, that the problem is everybody kind of looks at the cosmic part, not the, hey, let me give it a fair try part, right?
Yeah.
And it happens more often for me. It doesn't happen every day. We're not yet these magical human beings. We have the potential, but we're not believing it yet. And more we believe it, more we become. I mean, the simplest thing is we have this cell phone here that you can almost see through right now. Mm-hmm. If you thought 20 years ago that was even possible, you'd have a paper thin phone that can do everything in the world. You'd say it's absolutely no way in the world that's going to happen. But when we open our minds up to anything, this is just proof right here that this right here is proof that we are able to do something. That takes a process. The only thing we don't do is we don't take our mind through the process like we take technology through the process. We invent and discover things in technology, and we put a lot of minds toward it, but we don't really take a lot of minds and put it toward vision, connecting to each other. There is more now than ever before, but nobody's really over time really took in the process of, hey, we do have the ability to connect with a level energy that is unseen before. And, But back to the vision board thing, you're right. If you open yourself up to it, you start seeing results. But it's that process of understanding that, I speak this all the time, is every single moment in our life, everything that's in front of us has an opportunity for us. Mm-hmm. We have to look for it. We have to be open to watch it happen. Walking down the street, you may find a penny. The penny may have a date on it, or whatever can happen that triggers something to go forward with something that could lead to a fortune. It could lead to love. It could lead to something. If you probably even go looking back at what happened with that whole situation with you finding your new love, wow, I didn't even realize it, but this is what triggered it, right? So it's pretty amazing. But I really love that the fact, I don't usually do too much background research on my guests before I jump on the mic with them, because I don't know, I like the surprise itself. But but it's really cool that you're into that, because I'm into it too, and I'm into the whole idea, everyone out there, about vision boards is to kind of assist you in the opening of the mind, assist you that these things are possible, and open your mind up to it.
Yep, it's amazing. On the speaking side of my life, my biggest client and referral source actually came about because on one day's notice, my then marketing person called me in a panic in June of 2011. And she said, Steve, I need you to do me a huge favor. I sponsored the 8th hole at this country club tomorrow. I need somebody to stand there all day and measure how far people can hit a marshmallow with a golf club. And she goes, and I thought of you. And I'm laughing on the phone like you laughed. And I looked at my schedule. I said, you know what? Actually, I can do it. I can just bump my recording schedule to the next day, and I'll go. And at 6:45 the next morning, I'm sitting in a golf cart waiting to be driven out. And I got a gym bag in my lap overflowing with marshmallows. And a woman asked if she can, catch a ride out in the cart with me. I said, sure. And she looked down at my marshmallows and she goes, what are you doing? And I said, well, I'm measuring how far people can hit a marshmallow with a golf club. Ta-da! And she laughed and we started talking. And she said, well, what do you do for work? Because I can't imagine this is it. And now we're just having this great conversation. Yeah. And I gave her one of my cards. I said, actually, I'm a motivational speaker. I blend motivation with humor and through storytelling, impart lessons on people. Back to basics, motivation.
Right.
Oh, okay. She puts the card in her jacket. We drop her off. And 15 months later, she called. And I found out she was the CEO of one of the most successful real estate offices in southern New Hampshire and has since referred me. I've spoken in several New England states for her company for various offices. And we just signed a contract now. I'm doing 2 more presentations, including vision boards for her work team.
Wow.
I tell this story all the time. And whenever I speak for their company, I bring a bag of marshmallows for those who didn't know the story. She had even forgotten how we met.
Wow.
And I brought them. I said, Mary Beth may not even remember how this all got started. And she kind of shook her head. And I picked up the bag of marshmallows and she was in hysterics laughing.
Yeah.
And I just tell people, marshmallows in a golf cart, it's a moment. But because I was just in the moment doing what I do, because I was doing stand-up comedy at the time, just making people laugh. And it turned into the greatest client, honestly, I've ever had.
That's so exciting. I love it. It happens all the time. I mean, I had an incident recently where I was helping somebody film a new opening of their store, and I had met one of my great guests on the 5 Minute Bark. It was a gentleman named Lee Stein. He's been on TED Talk, and he's out there. He's a philanthropist now, changing the world literally, saving the Oso Peninsula and Costa Rica and different things like that. He invented the process that we use as email today. He invented the process we use now for payment gateways online. All patents he kind of once owned at one time. But I was in the process of learning how to be present at this time in my life. I was doing a lot of exercises and processes to learn that. And I'm usually a person that just runs around. But this guy had reached out to talk to me, and I, at first, was too busy. At second, I said, I planted triggers for this, revisit this. And I revisited it, and I was fighting to be there in that time and space because I was wanting to be over here because there's all this action going on. I said, you have to stay here. And I talked to him for a moment. He goes, listen, I know you're busy. What's your, give me your business card. And I said, well, I got my digital business card thing. I sent him my card or whatever. And a week later, he contacted me and he says, listen, I want to come over to your house and I want to have you help me with my website. I'm like, okay, sure. So long story short, this relationship went on for, I don't know, about a month. And my friends are like, do you realize who this guy is? I said, no, I don't, I'm busy doing my thing. And he's like, this guy is extremely wealthy. He's done this. He's been on TED Talk. He's done all these things. I'm like, and this guy's coming to my house. He lives in the wealthiest part of California, and he's coming to me. And it's like, wow, what an opportunity that I could have missed because of that. Yeah. And literally now we've become close friends where I can text him or call him and he answers immediately. And, he's been around President Obama personally and different people, very influential people around the world. And this guy now is on my friendship list. That's pretty amazing. But again, like you're talking about is showing up and being in the moment has gotten you the biggest opportunities and gotten me some of the biggest opportunities. So it all stems from vision and vision boards.
Yep. And your confidence too, because you very easily could have been intimidated when your friend said, do you know who that guy is? If there's always that little voice in the back of our heads that if you said, oh, this guy wants to come over, and somebody says, do you know who that is? And if you start background researching and see this, there might be that little voice of doubt in your head, because I've had it and still have it sometimes. I'm not good enough for that, or I'm not ready, or I'm not worthy of, I'm here, but this guy's here. And, and that can creep in and wreck it. But like you said, if you're just in the moment and realizing that it's your energies meeting, it could just be the most beautiful, effortless conversation ever. I mean, my hero guy on that level is Jack Canfield. He has been for many years. Jack has just been a hero of mine and my inspiration as a speaker, because I've seen him on stage once. And when I listen to him in the car, and he's a mega billionaire at this point, I feel like he's having a conversation just with me. And I love that. And I try to be that person as well. Had the opportunity to meet him this past November at an event here in Southern New Hampshire. And the first exercise of the day, before he even took the stage, was the person in charge saying, okay, everyone stand up. There were 600 people. It was a women's conference. I was one of 3 men on the property. And I think Jack was one of the other 3. And she said, I want you to go introduce yourself to somebody you've never met. And somebody next to me tapped me and says, hey, there's Jack Canfield. And the little voice in my head said, you've never met Jack Canfield? Why? I don't know. If I'd stopped to think about it, I might have talked myself out of it. Stood up, walked right over to him and said, Mr. Canfield, my name is Steve Gamlin, and I just want to thank you for inspiring me as a speaker all these years. And I just wanted to shake your hand and say thank you. And he said, oh, thank you so much. What do you speak on? And I said, back to basics, humor and motivation and vision boards. And he went, vision boards? Because I know he's a big. And I said, actually, sir, I'm launching my brand new program today, and I feel it is the most in-depth program in the world that I've seen so far on creating vision boards. And he said, oh, wonderful. He's still shaking my hand. Would you send me a copy of it? And I thought, yeah. And again, I'm trying to stay professional and I'm this little rock star
so hard. It's so hard, yeah.
He goes up on stage. He did 2 sessions that day. In the beginning of the second session after lunch, he talks about vision boards. And he says, there's a young man here who just said he created the greatest vision board program in the world. You should all go talk to him.
That's so
and I'm way in the back.
Turning red.
And all these faces. No, I wouldn't even turn red because I just went. All these people turn around, and I had so many friends and clients in the audience, and they go, did he just say you? And I'm just going, yeah, like that. And it was such a moment. And a whole great article and video came out of it called Did Jack Canfield just mention my name from the stage? In a split second, I could have talked myself out of even walking over to him. And now he's got the program. I've yet to hear back, and nothing may come of it. But I'm so glad that in that moment, the energy was there, the opportunity was there, took it, no regrets. When I'm 95 years old and gray on my front porch in the rocking chair, I'm going to rock with a smile saying, I shook Jack Canfield's hand. That, to me, just meeting him was a victory for me.
That's awesome. That is truly
Because he's on
awesome.
my vision board, by the way.
And he was
Chicken
before?
Chicken Soup for the Soul, because he was one of the co-founders, has been on my board for a long time.
Does he live here in San Diego, I believe?
I believe he has a home in the San Diego area. Yeah, he's got several throughout the country. He's got a place in Hawaii as well. But I believe he's based right around there, yeah.
You know, I have somebody I think that worked for him that I know. Or I think, the guy, the Chicken Soup guy, that worked for him. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, so maybe I'll have to look into that more for you there. But
Love it.
that is awesome. You know, everyone, these are the kind of stories that can happen if you're open. You don't, you just jump into the moment and do it. My next couple of guests I got coming on in May here are guests that I did exactly the same thing as you. I saw them speak and I jumped and said, I have to go say hi. I have to go introduce myself. And one of the things I teach in one of my courses, I have this course called Manufacturing Celebrity Status, is that if you find somebody that you want to talk to that's maybe famous or whatever, you go and take a picture with them and do exactly what you just said, is just talk to them and open yourself up to them, because you don't know. I mean, opportunity can happen, and who knows what's going to go from there. I mean, like you said, the Alaska person you interacted with took a year to get back to you, but now it's your biggest client. So these people will not forget that handshake if you're doing it in a genuine way, and that's really important.
Yeah,
So,
and people need to know, especially your viewers and listeners, I'm just a regular everyday guy. I am a blue collar guy, heart and soul. And somebody asked me recently, and he was in a suit and he was a little snotty about it. And I love just answering people like that when they say, why should I listen to you? What makes you so great? And I say, well, I had what I thought was a very successful life. I demolished it and I put it back together and I took notes. Ta-da! That's it.
Yep.
And I just share my stories. I mean, seriously, I come from a family of carpenters. I'm a regular everyday guy who's just figured out that through humor and storytelling and back to basics, you can do it. And here's how. Launched a career. And I'm having the time of my life right now. I'm 48 years old. Happiest version of me there has ever been in my entire life. And I just love this. And I love interviews like this, because then I get to find people just like me.
Right,
who
exactly.
Are building something and coming from their heart and soul. And I watched a bunch of your videos and I thought, I would love to spend some time on camera with this guy. I mean, and have a conversation.
Awesome.
So
Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.
And going back to what you were just saying about, God, no, I forgot now that you give me a compliment.
Sorry.
Yeah, don't give me a compliment ever again. No.
Okay.
So what were you talking about there before I forgot? Because I wanted, there's something I was really into there.
Let's see. Well, we're talking about Jack Canfield. We're talking after that. I honestly, I once in a while I tell people, I said, my brain is like an Etch-a-Sketch in the backseat of a car on a bumpy road.
Oh, good. Okay, so it was basically talking about something. Well, I'm just going to jump into the next thing because maybe it'll come back. So, one more thing is, all this change in life, all this direction came from somewhere in your life. What was like this is like a pivotal moment? I want to try to get to the moment, not the day, not the year, but a pivotal moment like that. You said, you know what, enough's enough. I want to move on. What was that trigger and what was that moment, if you don't mind sharing it?
No, not at all. It's funny. Actually, it happened. That moment that has changed everything and kind of gave me permission to wreck my life happened 10 years prior. So a little over 20 years ago now. If you've ever had somebody believe in you when you didn't believe in yourself, and in a good way, not like, I bet you won't jump off that bridge. I had a friend named Danny who was always after me. Why didn't you go and be on the radio? Because I wanted to be on the radio since I was 9 years old. And WKRP in Cincinnati came on TV. And I saw Dr. Johnny Fever, a DJ, shaggy hair, sunglasses indoors, T-shirts, jeans, played records, got paid. I'm like, I want to do that. And then fast forward to when I was 24, I was a couple years out of college, barely graduated, what my dad loves to refer to as summa cum this close. That's his favorite joke. And my friend Danny kept saying, your life, you're miserable. You're not happy. Why didn't you ever get in radio? And he asked me a bunch of times. And I borrowed $4,000 from my grandfather, went to broadcast school, didn't see Danny all summer, came back home, drove to his house. He said, well, where you been, man? I said, radio school. And I got a job on a station we grew up listening to. And it took me a while to get that lesson and realize it. But in that moment, when I realized that when people believe in you and you don't, they see something in you that you don't see or you won't admit to having. Danny died 3 weeks after I got to see him and say that I got into radio. He'd been sick for a couple of years and it came back and got him. But that little nugget, as much as I miss my friend and all that, that little nugget has stayed with me through 10 years of radio. And then I was just burned out. And I could kind of hear him saying, if you're not happy, go do something else. And I just pulled the ripcord of my whole life. I mean, quit radio, went through a divorce and was broke and just started all over again. And when I was having the first couple of conversations with my then life coach, one of the big things that happened was I was hitting golf balls in a thunderstorm, under power lines, barefoot in the wet grass, daring God to hit me. Just being sarcastic, not even being angry, just being tired. And I told him that story and he said, why don't you go be a motivational speaker? You ever thought about it? And all of a sudden, here's another guy. My life coach's name was also Dan. Here's the second Dan in 10 years to say, I think you'd be good at this. Why don't you go do it? And I've been speaking for 7 years. I did stand up for 12 years, did stand up for 7 years. So that little thing of somebody believing in me when I didn't keeps popping up and keeps changing my life.
You heard it, everyone. That's how lives are changed, is because of people around us. We all think we're Superman. We figured it out on our own. And sure, we have to do the work on our own, but it takes others around us. It takes connections. It takes being authentic with others, listening to others like you did and hearing it. Maybe you luckily you took it in subconsciously, but you didn't really understand it quite in that moment, but then you regurgitated it later to realize. I mean, I didn't realize one of my mentors has put me on a path until 50 years, I'm not 50 yet, but 40 years, 30 or 40 years later, whatever the age I am now, later, until he passed away, I didn't realize, oh my God, I keep referring back to this moment where this guy put a golf club in my hand and he wanted me to be great. Yeah. And at the time I wanted to be a baseball player and I ended up now playing golf and I love golf to death. But they kept on putting this golf club in hand and said, you'd be great at golf. You'd be great. And I was like, it's a stuffy sport. Don't want anything to do with it. And now it's like I'm absolutely
never mind the wardrobe.
yeah. I'm absolutely addicted to it. And but this has been great, Steve. This has been really a good interview, and I'm sure we definitely will be talking more. We both are into vision boards, and hopefully maybe we can collaborate on that in some sort of way, because I'm missing something and you're missing something, and maybe
you've got the exact skill set and mindset that I just, when we were first talking, before we even started rolling, I thought, this guy's got something. and it's kind of like the weird puzzle piece that you're looking and go, where do these go? Oh yeah, you turn them a certain way and they fit.
Yeah.
Which is great. You just bounce it off the wall a different way. And this has been amazing. Thank you so much.
This has been amazing to me. I mean, this is a contribute to what I also teach in my manufacturing celebrity course. And this is all just happening right in front of me. And I'm realizing it is, you just don't know who's in front of you. You just don't know who. If I didn't ask the question or just, you know what I mean? We wouldn't have even talked about vision boards. Probably would have talked about something else. And it's here and happening. And everyone, if you're out there and you're listening, and you maybe have glanced at the course I've created on manufacturing celebrity status, there's things you need to do to create bigger and better for yourself and get yourself on that pedestal. And number one thing I repeat over and over in the course is being authentic and listening to people and learning. And we've done that here today. And it's a witness to me. I've gotten this guest here, Steve Gamlin, on today from listening to Greg Walker, who took the time. He went out of his way right after the interview to insistently email you, message you, and you messaged back. all these things do not happen if you're rushing on. You're so worried about the next email, the text message is on your phone right now. I've gotten 5 text messages on I usually turn it off, but I had to turn it on because I wanted to show the vision board. I've gotten 5 text messages I could have looked at. I wouldn't have listened to something that happened here in this interview. So I hope everybody learned something very powerful here today, and I hope you learned something about how powerful and amazing vision boards can be and the why. So hopefully you can reach out to Steve in some sort of way if you want his products or services within a vision board. Please share your information.
Sure thing. Thank you so much. Very simple. Everything I own is on one website, which is stevegamlin.com, Gamlin. It's all there. The videos, the radio shows, the information about vision boards, everything is there. And, new articles, just peruse at your own risk of maybe walking away with a little insight.
Awesome. Listeners, thank you so much for listening. And Steve Gamlin, thank you for coming on here today. This has been great.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right. Bye, everybody.